Modern science is amazing, isn't it? Constantly new connections, new findings are coming out. And one of those amazing findings is that we don't have just one brain. Apparently, we have more than one brain. And in today's episode of Exploring Brain and Mind, we will dive a bit deeper into finding out about these connections between the different brains, in quotes. So sit back and listen and enjoy. Okay, so let's clarify one thing first. It's actually not three brains as in thinking about how our brain looks and works in our head. It's actually brain connections with other areas in our body. And those connections of the brain with the other areas of the body, which are the gut and the heart, have implications on emotional health, decision-making, and physical well-being as well. So what kind of connections are those? So these brains refer to complex networks of neurons capable of processing information independently, yet communicating with our central brain in our head. This idea of having more than one brain is actually nothing new, because ancient philosophers and traditional practices have already very often referred to a heart and gut connection to the brain and have been seen as centers of wisdom. For example, sayings like trust your gut or follow your heart refer to a long-standing recognition and some, maybe in ancient times, not that scientifically proven knowledge that there are more than one brain or that there are special connections between heart and brain and gut and brain. But it is not really something completely new. Let's look a bit more now at the gut brain and the heart brain. The gut brain is also called the enteric nervous system. The gut contains around 100 million neurons, which is more than in the spinal cord. It operates independently of the central nervous system, but communicates via the vagus nerve. And there will be a bit more about vagus nerve coming later on. The key role is regulating digestion and also influencing emotions through the gut-brain axis. One thing it does is the gut's microbiome can influence cravings, such as sugar cravings, when certain bacteria dominate. The gut also hosts 70% of our immune system, and stress and poor diet disrupts the balance and impacts our brain health. What can help restore the balance are fermented foods and a fiber-rich diet. And not to forget mindfulness. They can restore some gut-brain harmony and balance. Did you know that some neurotransmitters are produced in the gut? 90% of serotonin, for example, which is our feel-good hormone, are produced in the gut. And gut microbiota diversity directly impacts emotional states and mental clarity as well. Let's look at the impact of stress on the gut-brain connection for a second. Chronic stress can disrupt the gut-brain connection, and that can lead to gastrointestinal issues like IBS. Some foods that support good gut-brain health are probiotic-rich foods like yogurt, kefir, Some call it kefir, I think, over here, but I use the German pronunciation, and we used to say kefir. And sauerkraut, which is actually very yummy. But it's a personal preference. Also good are prebiotic foods like garlic, onions, and bananas. A tip for practical gut-brain integration might be to be a mindful eater. Practicing mindful eating means like chewing slowly, focusing on the taste of the food. If there is a mixture of tastes in the food, become aware of each separate taste and be aware of the textures as well. And that enhances digestion and the gut-brain signals. There is a lot of gut-brain research going on, and that has already found in some studies that gut health seems to be linked to mental conditions like anxiety and depression. Let's focus on the heart-brain connection, the heart-brain next. The heart contains approximately 40,000 neurons, enabling it to send complex messages to the brain. And the heart communicates more signals to the brain than the brain sends to the heart, which is interesting. There have been studies that have shown that the heart emits an electromagnetic field detectable several feet away. And that field varies, according to the studies, depending on emotional states, and it can influence others. For example, during empathic interactions. A good little exercise may be to place a hand on your heart, take a deep breath, and focus on a positive memory to reset your heart-brain connection. This might be helpful in stressful situations or when you feel stuck and a bit lost. What could also be useful for heart-brain alignment is to start journaling and to start a gratitude journaling practice, as gratitude has been shown to regulate heart rates and emotional states. There are many different heart coherence techniques out there to improve emotional regulation and stress resilience. A good person to follow on that, he does a lot of work with regards to heart-brain coherence, is, and I think I mentioned him before in another episode, is Dr. Joe Dispenza. Dr. Joe Dispenza does a lot of work on heart-brain coherence, but also work in connection with using the mind for the healing process, both for mental as well as for physical conditions. A great example for the heart and gut brain working together with our brain in the head, maybe the decision-making process. And there could be various complications if the heart brain says yes, the gut brain says no. So in that case, it's important not to rush to a decision, but to weigh up pros and cons of the decision and finding a solution that is both okay for the heart as well as for the brain and the gut. A harmony between gut and heart and brain is something to strive for. As mentioned before, let's have a little closer look at the role that the vagus nerve plays in the connection between brain, heart and gut. The vagus nerve is the longest cranial nerve in the body, and it serves as a vital communication highway between brain, gut, and heart. It's a bi-directional communication network, which means the communication goes one way, but as well as the other way. And it's often called the gut-brain axis. Leaves the heart out a little bit in the description, but that's what's often used in text and communications. It plays a crucial role in maintaining overall health and well-being. Let's look at the different communication connections that are happening via the vagus nerve. Starting with the brain to gut connection. The brain sends signals through the vagus nerve to the gut, influencing digestive processes based on emotional state. For example, stress can impact the digestive processes and cause issues. Then there's the hormonal regulation, meaning the brain regulates the release of hormones like serotonin and dopamine, which affect mood and behavior. These hormones can also influence gut bacteria through the vagus nerve. Then we've got the gut to brain connection. The gut senses various factors, including nutrient levels, bacterial composition, and inflammation. It transmits this information to the brain via the vagus nerve. Then there's the neurotransmitter production, where the gut produces the neurotransmitters like serotonin, which can influence mood and cognitive function. These neurotransmitters can signal the brain through the vagus nerve. Next is the vagus nerve role in the heart-to-brain connection. The heart sends signals to the brain about its rhythm and variability as a measure of the nervous system's balance between the sympathetic fight or flight and parasympathetic or rest and digest systems. Then there's the baroreceptor reflex, where the heart monitors blood pressure and sends signals to the brain through the vagus nerve. The reflex helps to regulate the blood pressure. So the vagus nerve is very important for the heart and gut-brain connections. It's important for digestive health, where the vagus nerve regulates the gut motility, acid secretion, and nutrients absorption. Then for the emotional well-being, it plays a role in mood regulation, stress response, and anxiety. For heart health, it helps maintain heart rate and blood pressure. And with regards to the immune function, it influences the immune system's response to inflammation. There are various techniques out there how the vagus nerve can be stimulated. For example, with deep breathing techniques, slow, deep breaths can activate the parasympathetic nervous system, which is associated with the vagus nerve. Then there's meditation and mindfulness. These practices can reduce stress and promote relaxation. Both can positively impact the vagus nerve function. Cold water immersion can stimulate the vagus nerve, leading to increased heart rate variability and reduced inflammation. Vagal nerve stimulation is not a technique, but more like a medical procedure that involves implanting a device that sends electrical impulses to the vagus nerve. And this is often used to treat conditions like epilepsy and depression. While the main focus of the episode was on the heart-brain and the gut-brain connection, as in we have more brains, researchers also look at other brains in quotes. They're not same brains in the sense of how heart and gut connect with the brain, but they also think they play a vital role. Researchers look at the skin, for example, as a sensory brain due to the massive network of neurons and the ability to sense danger and environment. And they look as well at the immune system, which is actually a lot happening in the gut, isn't it? As we were looking at earlier. While they are not considering it as a brain as such, it communicates closely with the central nervous system and highlights the interconnectedness of bodily systems. So for the sake of general well-being, I encourage people to look at all their brains, all the heart and the gut and the brain as a team working together, collaborating, and mindfully support each brain to improve overall health and decision making. Supporting all three brains helps to create balance and harmony within the body, which is very important for physical and mental health, because they're both affecting each other. Whatever you do on one side affects the other. Develop a good awareness of what's happening within your body and how all the different parts are talking to each other. You can sense that, you can feel it, and working on a more acute awareness, developing acute awareness will contribute to an improved self-awareness, which is the foundation of emotional intelligence as well. This brings us to the end of today's episode of Exploring Brain and Mind. Thank you for listening. I hope you found it informative. And it would be great if you liked and share the episode. And if you subscribed to the podcast on Apple, on Spotify, and all the other podcast outlets. I hope you tune in again to one of the next episodes.